a post-event email where we will have our presenters' contact info, as well as just any additional resources and where you can watch the presentation, since we're recording it live right now. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So Jane and Jeremy, if you guys want to go ahead and get started, and Sibby, if you want to do an intro as well, you guys are more than welcome to now. Thank you guys.
Sure. If you don't mind, Jane and Jeremy, I'll go first since you guys are going to be doing the content. My name is Silvia Manzanares, and I am the Supplier Diversity Program Manager at APS. So it's great to be here and to do the welcome from APS, because we love working with partners like the Hispanic Chamber to be able to support our local and diverse businesses. So at APS, we are looking to do more business with local and diverse companies. So pretty much the essence of what my job is to be able to make those connections. So I'm really happy to be here, really happy to be able to see this workshop. At APS, we are still doing a hybrid approach to working. So for example, I'm full-time working from home. We'll have some folks be working from the office at 25% capacity. So I think anything virtual that a company can kind of get really good at, I think is really important. And I really see this as the future, because I believe we were kind of heading there, but the pandemic kind of pushed us into this, right? So I'm happy to see this content and happy to be here today. So I'm looking forward to today's presentation. Thank you.
So hi, I am Jane DeGrosier, and I'm the founder of Mountain View Media, and we just celebrated our 20th year in business. We've seen lots of different advertising and marketing venues over 20 years, and the online marketing is just amazing right now. The digital online expertise that Jeremy carries is just, you're going to be pleasantly surprised. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Jeremy, and we'll be here to answer any questions after. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Jane. So today, in today's topic, we're going to be talking about how to market your company online and increase your online visibility. So what we're going to cover, we're going to go over the foundations of things that you need to do before you can even begin marketing. So things like creating a USP, creating a customer avatar, as well as looking over your website to make sure that it's ready for a marketing campaign. We're going to look at how to market to intent-based customers. So this is going to be like search engine marketing. We're going to look at your Google My Business listing, pay-per-click advertising, as well as search engine optimization. From there, we're going to look at how to market to passive customers. So this is going to be like your social media marketing and advertising. And then we're going to look at some retargeted marketing and using email marketing to retarget customers. So what is digital marketing? Well, digital marketing, also known as internet marketing or online marketing, is basically just utilizing digital channels to market your brand, services, and your products to potential customers. And the primary goal of a digital marketing campaign is to drive traffic to your website and then convert that traffic into paying customers. So like I said, before we do that, we do have to go over some foundational things. And the first thing is creating your USP or unique selling proposition, because this is pretty much what you're going to base your marketing around. Your USP is what makes you different and or better than your competition. You know, that's what makes you stand out. And one of the easiest ways to kind of figure out what your unique selling proposition is to perform a SWOT analysis on your business. And SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And your USP is going to come out of those S words, or those strengths. So figuring out the strengths of your business and how you're better than your competition, you're going to be able to create something that makes your company unique. And that's pretty much what we're going to be using in order to sell your products or your services. Next, you have to figure out who you're trying to market to. So if you try to jump into a marketing campaign, you don't really know who you're trying to market, you're going to end up wasting a ton of money figuring this out. So it's always better to do the research beforehand. That way you can pinpoint in exactly who it is that you're going to try to market your product or your services to. And it goes by very many names, but we like to call it a customer avatar or a buyer persona. And it's essentially your ideal customer or ideal customers. You want to try to be as in-depth as possible because you're pretty much creating an entire person. And things that you want to think about is their demographics. So how old would my customer be? What is their gender? Where do they live? How much money do they make, etc. And then you also want to think about how they think, which would be the psychographics. So what are their interests? What are their behaviors? What are their buying habits? And really, doing the research is going to help you, figure out, okay, I know that I've got potentially, 10 different customer avatars that I'm trying to sell to. And a little work template that I like to use, this little worksheet, just kind of helps you organize each different type of customer avatar. So you could, create one for let's say a John who's 43, and he works in graphic design, so he's going to be the primary. But then we also, sell to, let's say young women. So, okay, this is Elizabeth, and she's 24. She just graduated art school, but she's looking for a graphic design company, things like that. So you want to make sure that your customer avatar sheets, you're creating one avatar for each sort of demographic. You don't want to group a group of people into a single avatar. You want to be very, very, very specific, because the more specific you can be, the more effective your marketing is going to be in the future. And the last thing that we need to figure out before we can start marketing is your website, right? You got to have a website. It's the central, hub of everything that you're going to be doing when you go to market. Because the whole point is to send people to your website. But not only that, your website should be used as a marketing tool and a lead generation tool. It's not just there to present information, but it's also there to collect the contact information of potential customers. Right. So you have to make sure that this foundation is solid before you can engage in a marketing campaign. And these are some of the sort of checklists that we look at to make sure that a website is ready for a marketing campaign. So we want to make sure that you have a modern design on your website. It's responsive, it's scalable, it loads quickly, there's clear communication, you have your unique selling proposition on the website, and that it's optimized for conversions. And I'm going to break each one of these down real quick. So a modern design, it's common practice to have your website redesigned every 3 to 5 years to keep up with modern trends. This doesn't necessarily mean you have to completely revamp your website, but just to keep updating it visually roughly every 3 to 5 years. Your website is or will be the first impression of your business, especially through digital marketing. So you want to make sure that your first impression is a good one, right? The visitor is going to perceive an outdated website as an outdated business. So, in this example here that we show, if somebody comes to the website and they see the one that's on the left, that's very old school website design that looks, it's been out of date for 15, 20 years now. So if somebody comes to a website like this, they're going to be thinking, is this company even still relevant? Are they still around? Whereas, if we were to just give it a good redesign, make sure that it's modern looking, they'll know that, hey, this is a company, they're modern, they feel comfortable using the website because it's similar to the other websites that they navigate through, and that's another thing. You want to make sure that your customer feels comfortable navigating on your website. Next, we make sure that, you got to make sure your website is responsive. And essentially, this just means that your website looks good and it functions properly on all different device sizes. So desktop, tablets, mobile. Now, depending on the type of business that you are, if you sell to other businesses, so you're B2B, the majority of your visitors will be coming from the desktop. So you want to make sure that your website functions, perfectly on the desktop, and you can look at your mobile version as sort of like a secondary. If you're a business that sells direct to consumer, so you're a B2C, the majority of your customers will be coming from mobile devices, so tablets and phones. So you want to make sure that you put a lot of emphasis on the mobile version of your site. So just something to keep in mind when you're kind of going through your site, you want to go through it as though you are your customer. Because they have a very specific way of looking at your website that may be different to the way that you look at it. Next is website scalability. So when I talk about scalability, I'm talking about your website being able to grow with your company. As you continue to produce more and more and more traffic to your website, you're going to need more and more integrations. Let's say if you have like an e-commerce store, you have to make sure that you've got the proper payment gateways integrated. You may have, tons of integrations that you may need. So you want to make sure that your website's built on a platform that can scale with your business. Now, a lot of business owners who try to do it themselves, or they're just starting a business, they're trying to save some money, they do it themselves on one of those DIY platforms like Squarespace, Wix, and Webflow. These are really good platforms for if you're just starting out. Like if you made a business, you just need to get a website up to have a website, then these are fine. But ultimately what you want to do is prepare yourself for growth, especially through digital avenues. So you want to make sure that you're building your website on a system that can scale. And this is why I always recommend WordPress. I mean, here at Mountain View Media, we always build our websites on WordPress because it scales infinitely. It's also an open source platform, which means anybody can develop integrations, plugins, themes, whatever it may be for this platform, which makes it almost infinitely upgradable. You can make any different types of websites on there. I have personally built and managed multi-million-dollar e-commerce sites on WordPress. We also have websites built on WordPress that get tens of thousands of visitors per day. So again, you want to make sure that your website can scale with your business. That way, once you hit a growth goal, or you don't have to redesign your website on a brand new platform every time you have to add something new to it. Next, we look at speed optimization. Again, this is just making sure that your website loads quickly. People nowadays have very, very short attention spans. So if your website's not loading in 2 to 3 seconds, they're going to leave your website and go to your competitor's website. So it's very important that your website loads quickly. And one of these tools that we use is called GTmetrix. It's a free tool. You can use it yourself if you want to judge your own website. But what's really cool about this is it gives you a score. It tells you how fast your page is loading. And it also gives you a waterfall, which is the second picture here, and it shows you everything that web page is loading in. So if you do have a very long loading time, you can kind of figure out and debug, hey, this is the one that's taking up all of the time. So it just helps you speed up your website. Next is clear communication. It's very important that when a customer comes to your website, it's very, very clear what it is that you can provide to them or what it is that you're trying to sell to them. You never want to have a customer come to your website and have to guess at what it is that you can provide them. You want to make it very, very simple. And one example of this from a previous client that we used to work with, it was a company that built and designed custom pools. But they were wondering, hey, we're not really getting any leads for custom built pools. What's going on? So we took a look at their website and it looked like a pool supply store. So you go to their website, they had a bunch of products there, chemicals, chlorine, salt, pool toys, tools, things like that. And then they would sell those to their customers, but their website wasn't clear that, hey, our main business model is designing and building pools. We just sell these on the side to our customers or future customers. Once we fixed that communication issue and the layout and everything, all of a sudden they started generating leads for custom built pools. So again, just make it super simple and clear as to what it is that you provide your potential customers. Next, you've got to make sure that your USP is on your website. Again, this is what makes you better than everybody else. So without that, why would somebody choose you? So it's really important to have your USP there, again, because we're going to be using this USP, this unique selling proposition, as a marketing tool as well as to why somebody should choose you over your competition. And then the last thing that we look at with websites is making sure that it's optimized for conversions, right? So there's a very simple acronym. It's converts. So think of converts as conversion optimized. And essentially what all of this breaks down to is you want to make it as easy and as simple as possible for a user to give you their contact information to turn into a lead. So this is, making sure that you have clear call to actions on your website, that you have a singular offer. So if they're on a service page or a product page, that page is all about, that service or that product, and that's with the narrow focus. Your very important attributes is kind of like your USPs for that service. You want to have an effective headline, so something that's sort of attention grabbing. Resolution savvy layout. Again, this is just responsive design, making sure that it looks good on all different devices. Tidy visuals kind of go into that. You want to make sure that your website looks clean and it looks modern. It's not cluttered. And then social proof. Social proof is probably one of the most important things in order to generate leads, because when a customer comes to your website, if they're interested in your services or your products, they want to see that, hey, I've got this problem, but I want to know that you've solved this problem for other people too. And that's where the social proof comes in. So things like reviews and testimonials, whether they be in text form, video form is very powerful. But just making sure that when a customer comes to your website, they can see, hey, you fixed this problem that I have for all of these other people. So now that we've got the foundations out of the way, we've created that unique selling proposition. We've created our customer avatars so we know who we're trying to target. Our website's up for the challenge of generating a ton of traffic. Now it's time to actually generate that traffic. And the first way we're going to look into is marketing to intent-based customers. So search engine marketing, which is usually abbreviated as SEM, allows you to market your business to intent-based customers. And an intent-based customer is somebody who is already in need of your service or your product. They're just looking and using a search engine to try and find somebody to provide it to them. Right. And this is great as it bypasses half of the sales products. You don't have to convince somebody that they need what you've got. They're already looking for it. Now you just have to convince them to choose you over your competitors. So which search engine should you market on? I mean, there's tons of them out there. And really the short answer is just to start with Google. Google makes up with 87% of the search engine market share. There's 5.8 billion searches per day on Google versus only 340 million searches per day on Bing. And it's not to say that you should only market on Google. Google's just sort of the starting point. And then once you get comfortable marketing on Google, then you can expand to like Bing and Yahoo. But again, starting out with Google is going to be the best bang for your buck. And inside of search engines, there's three main ways to market your business to intent-based customers. We're going to be, again, focusing mainly on Google because it's the most dominant, but the concepts are universal when it comes to marketing on search engines. So the first thing we're going to look at is Google My Business listing, or, this also has like the Bing, whatever their business listing is. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but all the search engines have a business listing. Pay-per-click advertising, in this case, we're going to be looking at search ads through Google. And then we're going to look at search engine optimization, which is probably one of the most important channels that you can use in order to market your business to intent-based customers. So Google My Business is the first thing that you can do to start showing up inside of Google. And the best part is that it's free. You know, it only takes about 15, 20 minutes to completely fill out. And the more complete that you do fill it out, the better it's going to rank inside of the search engine. Your Google My Business listing can get your business in front of local customers in as little as about 4 to 5 days. And really, that's just waiting for your postcard to come in to verify your business. And to start, all you have to do is make sure you have a Google account, and then you can go to business.google.com. Google is then going to take you through the whole process of adding content to your listing. And again, like I said, you want to make sure to completely fill out your business listing. You want to upload pictures like logos, work in progress, team members, office space, videos. You want to make sure that you put in all of your services, give descriptions of your services, add in any pricing information if you have it. The more information that you put into your Google My Business listing, the better it's going to perform. And that Google My Business listing shows up here inside of a search query. So when you type something into Google, let's say if it's like a local business or a local service, you know, you're going to have your ads, but then it's also going to show up in this what we call the map pack. This is where the Google My Business listing shows up. So one of the, you know, like I said, filling it out as completely as possible really does help make it show up higher. But one of the main ranking factors is making sure that you have reviews. All right, so it's going to be the number of reviews and then your average score, how many stars you get per review. And a great way to generate reviews for your business is a very simple email marketing campaign. Just send an email to all of the people that you've done business with, asking them to, hey, give us a review on Google. It is just one way that you can improve your search engine appearance and performance. And another thing that's really nice about Google My Business is that it gives you a dashboard where you can view your performance. So, you know, things like how many times your business showed up, what you know, search terms people are actually typing in to find your business. And if you find that you're showing up for the wrong search terms, then you can change the content of your business listing to make sure that you're showing up for the right ones. You're also able to manage and reply to reviews through your dashboard. You can also create ads directly from this dashboard, which is really great. So next we're going to talk about pay-per-click advertising. And this is the second way to market inside of search engines. And the way that a search engine advertising campaign works is it's kind of like an auction. You know, you choose the search terms that you want to show up for, and you set a bid amount for how much you're willing to pay every time somebody clicks on your ad. And essentially, whoever bids the highest is going to show up the highest inside of the search engines. And this, you know, it can kind of get a little bit tricky because you don't want to, you know, set a bid amount that's way too high and you're you know, spending 5-6 times as much as the person who's possibly in the second position. So there is, you know, a lot that goes into an advertising campaign. You know, there's a lot more than, you know, than meets the eye. Now, if you want to maximize the efficiency and the effectiveness of your Google Ads campaign, you do not want to use Google's smart campaigns. It's going to chew through your budget and leave you high and dry. And essentially, the Google Smart campaign is when you sign up for an advertising account, a Google Ads account, the Smart campaigns are enabled by default. And what the Google Smart campaign does is it literally, you just give Google's algorithms all of the power over your advertising. And essentially what it's going to do is it's just going to spend your money as fast as it can. And you don't really see very good results from it. You can see results from it. You can get business from it, but it's extremely inefficient. So what you want to do is you want to create an advanced ad account, which allows you to go into all of the details so that you can tweak every single little setting, you know, and that's what, you know, companies like Mountain View Media does, you know, where we actually manage advertising campaigns manually. You end up using your budget a lot more effectively and a lot more efficiently, so you get more leads per dollar, essentially. On a side note, you know, if you do plan on running a campaign by yourself, do not put your faith in a Google Ads rep, right? So if you create an account and you start spending money, you're inevitably going to get an email from somebody at Google. Now they are Google employees. They're legitimate Google employees, but they're not there to help you with your ad campaign. You know, they're pretty much there to tell you to put more money into the Google machine. And it doesn't make sense for a small business owner to continue to put more and more and more and more money into something hoping that it'll work. You know, and that's the big difference between, again, the Google Smart campaigns versus a manual campaign where we have complete control over everything versus, you know, letting a robot essentially do everything for us. It doesn't, you know, again, it's not very efficient. Now, the Google ad reps that agencies work with, again, like the people that we work with, these are the true experts. These are the ones who know every little tiny detail about the advertising platform. But again, in order to get one of these, you know, you have to be spending tens of thousands of dollars per month inside of the Google platform. And again, that's why you know, it's more efficient and effective to work with a marketing company than it is to try and do it yourself, just because of the fact that, you know, a marketing agency just has so many more resources in order to, you know, make your budget go the extra mile. Now, the great thing about running search ads is that you can start generating leads within a matter of days. In fact, the fastest I've ever started to generate lead has been about 3 hours after an advertising campaign had gone live. But the real growth of your website comes from search engine optimization. So search engine optimization, or SEO, accounts for 50% of website traffic. And this is actually about a number from a couple years ago. Today, it's more in the 60 to 65% of web traffic. SEO is what will generate the majority of your business eventually, right? The downside to SEO is that it can take anywhere between 6 to 8 months to start seeing results from it. And that's because SEO is based on thousands and thousands of algorithms, and it takes time for Google to understand your site and to see the optimizations that have been made to it. Now, a SERP it basically just stands for search engine results page. So that is the page that you are shown after you type something into Google. And SEO helps you rank organically in the SERPs. So you can see just above the organic listings is that Google My Business listing map pack there. 70% of users actually skip over the ads and go directly to the organic results, because users know that, hey, the organic listings, they have been earned. You can't pay for those spots. You know, they're not ads, so they're not companies, you know, trying to buy their way into you. You know, these are legitimate websites that Google feels is the most trustworthy in order to, you know, provide that information to me. So that's why such a large number of people actually skip the ads and go directly to the organic listings. Now, SEO is an entire workshop in and of itself. You know, I've done 2-hour workshops with SEO, so I'm just going to cover the very bare bones, basic, sort of top level stuff to give you an understanding of what all goes into an SEO campaign. And I like to break it down into 3 main pillars. So you've got your technical optimizations, you've got your on-page optimizations, and you have your off-page optimizations, also known as authority building. So technical SEO basically just has to do with optimizing the code and the structure of your website. This is everything like under the hood of your website, and making sure that it's optimized not only to load quickly and things like that, but also to put in a lot of informational code that search engines directly look for, and it helps the search engines understand the content and the purpose of your website. Next is going to be the on-page optimization. And the on-page optimization deals with everything that's on the website that's visible by a user. So this is all of the content, the text, the images, the videos, all of these things. And the whole point of this is to try to, you know, get a keyword, you know, figure out what keyword should go on which page, and then optimizing that page for that one keyword. Again, that goes back to an earlier slide where we think about the converts acronym. The N was a narrow focus, so making sure that you're focusing on one single topic per page and then optimizing that page for that topic or keyword. Now, the average page that ranks #1 on Google has a word count of about 1,800 words. And that tells us that Google loves content. And this has been the case for a few years now. It's very much content based, so it's extremely important to make sure that your pages on your website, they have that narrow focus and they are being optimized for a singular keyword. Now, a lot of people will see 1,800 words and they'll kind of freak out, like, hey, I don't know how to write 1,800 words worth of content. I'm not very good. I didn't do very good in English in school. Or it's like, I just don't have time to write 1,800 words. And, when you sit down and you think about it, you'll get to 1,800 words really, really quickly. It's a lot easier than people really think. So you talk about the services that you offer. So if, for instance, if it's a singular service, talk about that service, talk about your processes for that service, talk about the tools or equipment that you use for it. And then you can even, create an FAQ, a frequently asked questions, specifically on that service. Once you've done those 4 things, believe it or not, you'll be up there in about the 16 to 2,000 word range. So it is a little bit easier, once you actually know sort of how to structure that page and the content in order to get to that word number. And the last thing is off-page SEO or authority. And like I mentioned before, search engines work off of trustworthiness, especially Google. As a search engine, it's Google's job to provide its users with the most relevant and trustworthy information. And the way that it goes about this is it grades every single website that it indexes. You get what's called an authority rating. And that authority rating, again, is just Google's measurement of, hey, how trustworthy is this website? How much can I trust the content of this website? And the only way to increase that is through getting backlinks. Now, that's a whole nother topic to talk about, but the easiest way to understand that is think of it as a referral system. If I'm looking for a dentist, and if I go to like 3 different people and I say, hey, I've got a cavity I need filled, can you recommend a dentist? Now, if all 3 of those people send me to the same dentist, they give me the same business card, they're referring me to that dentist, then I can assume that that's a pretty good dentist to go to. Right now, the same thing works with websites. If somebody, searches for a search term, they go to a website, and then this website is sending their traffic, they're referring their traffic to another website, Google can follow that trail. And so Google will know, hey, this website sent their traffic to another website for this keyword, so this other website must be a trustworthy source of information. And so that's how you start to build up your authority within search engines and specifically Google, and making your website a more trustworthy source of information. And again, we do that through a backlink campaign. So now we've got a basic understanding of marketing to intent-based users through search engines. Next, we need to figure out how do we market to the passive audience? How do we market to people who don't necessarily know about our products or our services? All right, so social media is mostly used for brand awareness, customer interaction engagement, and building trust in your brand. But you can also advertise quite successfully on these platforms. But the key to being successful with social media is being consistent, right? And there's a few key factors that your business should consider when it comes to marketing on social media. And these would be, what platform to market on. You got to make sure that you have a consistent posting schedule, and also advertising on social media platforms, right? So which social platform should you focus on? Well, that really depends on the type of business that you are and who you're trying to sell to. Having a Facebook page nowadays is pretty much universal and mandatory. So if you don't have a Facebook page, go ahead and make one. You're definitely going to need it. Now, if the services that you provide are visual, maybe you have a good before and after image, you're trying to sell products or something. So let's say like kitchen remodeling, roofing, or landscape, things that have very good and drastic before and afters. Having an Instagram account can be very beneficial. There's a couple landscaping companies that I've worked with where, they start a YouTube channel and, they literally just record themselves doing the work. So for instance, taking care of an overgrown yard. They just record themselves through the whole process. They do a time lapse video. Next thing they know, they're getting millions and millions of views on their videos. Um, they put ads on their videos, so now they're generating, they've got another source of revenue from those ads on the videos of them just doing what they do day in and day out. You know, and then that creates brand awareness, that creates that other revenue stream, but it also creates a whole nother platform where they're getting business. People in the area notice, hey, they did pretty good on that yard, I need to get hire somebody to do my yard, I'm going to hire them. So there's a lot of positives that come from you know hitting the right social platforms. Products do very well on Instagram. If your target demographic is businesses, so again, if you're B2B, LinkedIn is a great way to go because that's pretty much the B2B version of Facebook. That's the professionals. If your target demographic is mostly to younger people, so maybe you're a toy company or you provide summer camps or something like this, places like TikTok and Snapchat are a great way to market. So your social platform definitely depends on who your target market is. And that's why filling out those customer avatars, the buyer personas, it's extremely important because that's going to allow you to hit the ground running when it actually comes to marketing. So you can go you can just go to Google and you can search what the demographics are for each of the different social media platforms, and then you can choose the ones that are going to be the most effective at targeting your target demographics. Consistent posting schedules. Now, this is very, very important. Consistent, thoughtful posts show that your business is active and ready to be engaged by the community. A consistent posting schedule gives you the opportunity to reach more people. Now, posting inspirational quotes every day is not engaging content. It's okay every once in a while, but you want to keep it sparse. Now, the only, opposite to that is if you are like a health and wellness company, a yoga company, something like that, it's a lot more appropriate to be posting those inspirational quotes. But if you're like a landscaping company or something and you're running your own Facebook marketing, you don't want to treat it as your personal Facebook. You want to, it's a business account. You're going to post things related to your business that people actually want to see. So one of the reasons why people go to a business's social media account is they want to see, is there any interaction between them and potential customers? They want to see, their work. A social media is a great way to just have your portfolio out there. You take pictures and post them. And so, oh, we had a great time, working on this today. With engaging content, people are much more likely to interact with your post, whether it be a like, a follow, a comment, a share, whatever it may be. Again, you want the community, you want your target audience to be engaging with you. And you want to make sure to interact and engage back with them. They want to see that you actually, not only are just posting consistently, but you're engaging with the people that are engaging you. You know, they could be current or potential customers. And you may get lucky and go viral. One of your posts may go viral. This shouldn't be your primary objective when it comes to social media because, if your main focus is to make something go viral, it will never go viral. It's just one of those things that happens naturally. You don't have very much control over it, but you have much higher chances of that so long as you have consistent posting schedules. Again, consistency is the key here. And then we have social media advertising. And like I said, advertising on social media can be quite powerful, but you have to remember that you're advertising to a passive audience, so much more work has to be done in order to convert a customer as opposed to search engine advertising. Now, the great thing about advertising on Facebook is that you can hone in on very specific target audiences. And again, this is where having those buyer persona worksheets filled out really comes into play, because with Facebook, you can create your own custom audiences, and you can type in the demographics like their location, their age, their gender. You can do their interests and their hobbies, and you can even target people based on their behavior. So, do they travel a lot? Do they have a history of buying things online after clicking on an ad? So the more in depth that you get on your buyer personas, the more in depth you can get at actually targeting people with your advertising inside of Facebook. Now, again, this will allow you to put your products or services in front of the people most likely to become a customer. So that's why it's so important to do your research beforehand. Now, last thing that I'm going to talk about today is going to be retargeted marketing, mainly through email marketing. And this is all about sort of nurturing leads and getting returning customers. So email marketing is a great way to nurture leads and to create those repeat customers. And there's really two main ways to maximize your email marketing. And that's by creating lead magnets and through the retargeted marketing. So lead magnets are little freebies that you can offer on your website, whether it's like a newsletter sign up form or a free download, but it requires an email entry in order to get that download. These gathered emails can then be put into an email marketing platform like MailChimp or Constant Contact, so that you can target them based on how you got their emails. And this is a great way to create a sales funnel that pushes a visitor that is interested in more information into becoming a paying customer. Now, a good example of this would be, let's just say, a lawn care company. Um, on their website, they have a brochure or a little booklet on the best way to maintain your yard or a specific type of grass, right? So if you've got a homeowner who's really interested in doing it themselves, you want to give them the information on how they can do it themselves. But you really got to go all out and make it extremely detailed and specific and show all the tools and equipment that they'll need. Because even though that person may not be interested in hiring that lawn care company to do it, he's more interested in doing it himself. Once he puts in his email, he downloads that freebie and he starts reading through this and understanding, wow, this is actually a lot more that goes into it. I don't even have tools or equipment like this. I can't do it myself, even if I wanted to, or I can't do it as good as this company can. So maybe in the future, he'll hire that company to do it, even though originally he was interested only in doing it himself. So one of the worries that a lot of people have is like, well, if I give people information on how they can do it themselves, then I won't get any business because everyone will just do it themselves, right? But if you do a good enough job of telling people how to do it themselves and really telling them just how involved it is, they'll realize, wow, I don't have the money for this to do it myself, I don't have the time for this to do it myself, I don't have the skill sets to do it myself. And you end up getting that customer anyways, even though they wanted to do it themselves. And retargeted marketing. So this is going to be the last slide. Retargeted marketing allows you to create repeat customers. And this is usually done by sending out emails to current and past customers about special promotions or discounts, giving them a reason to come back again and again. You can also keep them up to date with the latest news about your company, keeping your business in front of the customers' minds. But again, just like social media, consistency is key to successful email marketing campaigns. But there is a caveat to that. You don't you don't want to email customers too frequently. You could end up being listed as a spam emailer, which will eventually result in all of your emails automatically being sent to the spam folder, even with new customers. So you want to make sure that you make your emails meaningful, that you're not adding people to a subscription list who didn't actually add themselves to it. Um, but for things like newsletters, you want to limit this to about once a month. If you have a lot of specials or promotions, try to group them into a minimal amount of emails. If you're working with wholesale distributors, that's a little bit different, because if you have, you're adjusting your pricing, you're adding new products, you're removing products, that's more appropriate to send emails as needed, whether that's once a week, if it's more frequent than that, if it's less frequent than that. But again, targeting people who have shown that interest in your business, creating an email campaign around how you obtained those emails. So for instance, with the DIY example, if somebody put in their email address because they wanted to download that DIY booklet, well, they can automatically be added into Constant Contact or MailChimp under that specific audience of people who downloaded that booklet. So you could have your very own email marketing campaign, a series of emails based around DIY lawn care. And again, that's just a way to keep your business in front of them. So even, if they wanted to do it themselves, but, 2, 3 months down the road, because you consistently, are sending them emails, you're staying in front of their, in the fronts of their minds, and you're much more likely to obtain that person as a customer, and as well as repeat customers. If somebody already purchased from you, whether it be your services, your products, you can always send them emails, monthly newsletters. You can send them promotions, discounts, and things like that to get them to come back time and time again to continue purchasing your products or your services. So with that, we've hit our 45-minute mark. So I want to thank everybody who was with us today. At this time, we are going to be doing a Q&A. And if you don't have any marketing going, or even if you do, but you want somebody to take another look at it if something's not working for you, contact us for a marketing consultation. We'd be more than happy to help you create an action plan, so that you can get hit the ground running if you don't have one yet, or we can audit your current marketing to figure out how you can be doing things better.
Thank you, Jeremy. So are there any questions in the chat, or how are we going to be taking questions?
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I don't see any questions so far. I mean, if there's anybody right now, any of the participants that have, any questions or comments, we have 15 minutes about to be able to answer some of those. So please feel free to use that. In the meantime, is there, oh yeah, we will be sending out that post-event email. So we will also have your guys' contact information there as well, in case people do have questions after. But in the meantime, I guess we can give it a couple minutes, see if any questions trickle in. I'm just monitoring the chat right now, but don't see anything just yet.
I do have something to add, along with the great website, design and implementation. The branding is very important too. And, that could be a whole, speech in itself, but branding is super important. Your colors, how your logo makes the client feel, obviously. We branded a federal credit union. I don't know if she's on here today, but you can do focus groups, and you can really, find out what kind of colors evoke emotion and what is going to be the best, the colors and the shapes for your logo, and the font usage. It's a lot. So, make sure that you have really good logos and branding and marketing materials to go along with this. We do help with the branding, and we do guidance with marketing materials. But once you have, your logo and your branding package, you can, go to a printer and have your, branding put to good use for you. But I would say it is very, very important to have really excellent branding as well. So I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, thank you. That's super helpful. We do have a question coming in from Roddy's Cambit. The question is, how much is it to create a website, and how can the website stay in the first place in Google?
Well, I can answer the first question. You can reach out to me directly, and we can talk about how many pages you need, and if there are going to be any add-ons, if it's going to be merchant account, if you're going to be a shopping account, this and that, and then we can send you a quick proposal that we're happy to do it anytime. And then first place in Google, Jeremy, I'll let you answer that one.
Yep. So again, with the website, it pretty much depends on the functionality needed, how many pages, how much content's going to be on the website. But to keep it in the first place of Google, it really comes down to your search engine optimization and SEO campaign. And I kind of briefly went over SEO a little bit. Like I said, I usually do 2-hour workshops for SEO campaigns. But the first one is making sure that your website is properly technically optimized. So again, that's all of the code, making sure that you've got like a schema markup on there to ensure that the search engine can easily and quickly read that information. It's kind of like the meta information of what this page is, what is it about, is it a service, does it have pricing, do they have reviews. The more schema markup and the more relevant schema markup you can put up there, the higher it's going to rank. Even making sure that your website pages are optimized for this featured snippet. That's a really big thing because it's like an upgraded organic listing. And that's things that we do. The next thing would be the on-page optimization. So again, making sure that you stay first place in Google depends on the keywords that you're trying to go for. You want to make sure that your pages are optimized for the singular keyword for that page. And then the third thing is just your authority. So that authority is one of the big ranking factors. And Google understanding how trustworthy that information is. So making sure that you're staying on top of all three of those pillars is going to ensure that you can stay in first place on Google. So again, making sure that you've got proper schema markup on your website, making sure that your pages are optimized for the keywords, you're not duplicating keywords over different pages. Otherwise, you get into self cannibalization inside of search engines to where instead of ranking highly for both pages, or instead of one ranking highly, they both drag each other down because they're competing with each other. Um, there's a lot of technical stuff that I could get into, but essentially it's just making sure that you stay on top of all of those three pillars.
Yeah, thank you. We have a question here from Eric. On your website, how many logos should you have of affiliated organizations that you were a member of, or should a business owner have? I have seen websites where there are 1, 2, or 5. Is there a recommended number?
Yep. So the affiliated organizations, membership logos, things like that, it's really just a personal preference. If you feel that your website has too many of those logos, you can reduce them to your most important partnerships or the most important certifications or memberships, whatever it may be. Usually, for a local business that serves local customers, you want to make sure that you at least have if you're a member of the chamber, the chamber of commerce, making sure that you've got their logo on there so that other businesses know, hey, you're part of the chamber, you're a local business. Even local customers, if you do business with direct to consumers, they'll see, okay, it solidifies you as a part of the community essentially. But the number of logos that you should have on your website, as far as that goes, it really just comes down to personal preference.
Gotcha. Thank you. There was a follow-up question with that one as well, asking also for people who go to a business owner's website on their phone, does the GT metrics give that data, or does it depend on the phone?
So it really depends on a lot of different factors. So if you're trying to figure out what the mobile speed is of the website, it definitely depends on the phones because every phone has different processor, different amounts of RAM and things like that. It would also depend on their network. So, do they have T-Mobile versus Verizon versus Spectrum? It would also depend on how far away a user is from a cell tower. There's a lot of different things that can affect a score for mobile users. But what it tries to do is it uses, I believe you can set a mobile attribute in there when you're scanning a website. But what it basically does is it just tests your website overall. A more useful tool would be Google Page Insights, Page Speed Insights. And what that will do is it will load your web page either via desktop or through the phone, and it'll score your website based on how fast it loads. And so because one of the big differences between desktop and mobile, and one of the things, part of responsive design is optimizing your website for mobile devices. So reducing the amount of coding necessary in order to show your website, things like deferring JavaScript, and if you use custom fonts, to make sure that you have a default font that loads before your custom font loads. Little things like that that really help improve your score. But for that, G2 metrics kind of just shows you overall what the score is of your website. But if you really want to dig into mobile, I would use the Google Page Speed Insights.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Yeah, I don't see any other questions right now so far. Again, just continue to remind you guys, I will be sending out that post-event email. So we'll be having that out by this afternoon at some point, where we'll have Jane and Jeremy's contact info for any follow-up questions or conversations that you guys would like to have. But yeah, thank you guys so much to Jane and Jeremy from Mountain View Media. This was super helpful information, and really timely to continue to thrive virtually and in person. So thank you guys so much. Thank you again to APS for their partnership with us and continuing with these workshops. We have another one coming up soon, so be on the lookout for that. And yeah, thank you guys so much. In the meantime, be on the lookout for that post-event email.
Thank you. Thanks for having us, and it was a pleasure. Reach out if you have any questions. It looks like we might have done a little hack on there on the chat. I'm not quite sure, but I did put the direct contact information if you'd like that as well. So
perfect. Thank you guys so much. Have a great day.
All right, you as well. Bye-bye.
Okay.